Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Paige, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 4. And this is going to be my review for episode 16 of this season, otherwise entitled Run, Iris, Run. But of course, before we get into the rest of the video, if you've not watched the episode, go watch before you continue on with this video, as we're going to be talking spoilers. So there's some pretty relevant stuff for the rest of the season in this episode, so if you've not watched it, go watch it, then watch this video later. But if you are continuing, be sure to drop a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. Be sure to let me know in the comments section down below what you liked about this episode, what didn't you like, just let me know down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. So really, to start off this episode, and which continues on right till the end of the episode, where you see that Harry is building his own thinking cap of sorts of what DeVoe had. Like he had like actual footage of DeVoe's own device. We were wondering, because we had promo images come out with Harry with this like thinking cap looking, or thinking cap replica or copy, and we're wondering, okay, is this just like coincidental that Harry comes up with this same design? And no, he actually gets the design from DeVoe because he has, security footage of the night the particle accelerator went off. Now, the idea in itself could possibly kill Harry, and everyone was really for it really easily, and Cisco didn't agree with it. And to be honest, I agreed with Cisco that like maybe it's not the smartest idea. Like everyone just came and was like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, really, there should be some more thought to this. And I'm going to get into this later in the review as to why not only this was an issue with this episode, and the episode as a whole could have been done differently. This was like one example of things just feeling very rushed. But yeah, it just felt weird that everyone just came to that decision really quickly, and Cisco went the smarter route, where it took him like more of the episode to come to the conclusion that, yeah, let's go along with this idea. Now, it felt like they put a very meta comment in this episode, and that's when we see like Ralph talking to Iris and saying like, you never go on the field, but you're leading this team and telling people what to do. That's basically everyone that isn't like a West Allen shipper. That's basically going like, why is Iris leading this team when she like has no experience out in the field? Like, how is she telling people to do certain things when she has no experience herself out there? Which is basically most viewers for the show, apart from, as I said, like West Allen shippers. So that's like a very meta thing that they put in this episode, but I think that was on purpose. They were talking about like Iris's fears in this episode, and I was like, they haven't really addressed that this season, so it felt really weird that it just like popped up in this episode. Usually when things like sprout in an episode, they're going to be a focus, they'll tease it in like the episodes to come before this episode. So like, this is episode 16, maybe in episodes like 13 or 14 or one of those episodes, even maybe last episode 15, they would have hinted that Iris had like these fears and stuff before they just like sprouted into this episode. But it wasn't really brought up in previous episodes this season. Like last season it was a thing, but you got to make it relevant to what we're watching at the current time, and it wasn't brought up, so it felt a bit weird in regards to that. But anyway, our like bus meta for the episode isn't the only meta we deal with, but the bus meta we deal with in this episode is Melting Pot, aka Matthew Kim. I think that's what his name was. I know his first name's Matthew. I think it was Matthew Kim. And I think the guy's from Westworld. He looked familiar. I haven't watched all of Westworld, but he looked familiar to me. I think he's from Westworld. Anyway, his ability is essentially, to keep it simple, just transfer DNA. So the first example is actually not, giving his power or giving Barry's powers to Iris. It's actually giving this other random meta who was an OG particle accelerator meta from like season 1. He gives his powers to this random roadie who is a guy from Glee. I think his character's name in the episode was Jacob Birch. I think that's what his name was. The guys from Glee, I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head anyway. But that's like our first example of his powers. But this all does lead into the power swap between Barry and Iris, which was, he had his hand on Iris because he had like the scalpel to her throat, and Barry grabbed him, and that's like, it quickly went just through like a thing, whatever you want to call it, just transferred the powers. The show still did the silly thing where like the guy ran away, like no one chased after him. Like I'm sure Barry would have still been able to get up to him. It would have looked weird, the Flash running without his powers in the Flash suit. Trust me, it would have looked stupid. But Barry would have still been able to possibly run after him. But he just let him go. But I guess he was like, oh crap, my speed. So I can understand maybe why he let him go. But yeah, it would look, they should have done a moment in this episode where Barry was running like his normal full speed without his speed, if that makes sense. That would have been pretty funny. So a missed opportunity there. Now, one big question I was hoping would get answered in this episode, and they didn't even reference it. They didn't even bring it up, or at least I didn't hear them bring it up. If they did, it must have been like spoken very quickly. Why is Iris's lightning purple? They didn't address it. I thought we might have got some answers as to maybe why the accelerated man's lightning was purple, but what it comes down to, it just seems that it was an aesthetic choice, because Iris's like jacket that she wears at the end of the episode, was like purple in color, like it was like a dark purple. So it just seems like it was an aesthetic choice to make it look cool, because it would look pretty lame if she had orange Lightning with that suit. So that's what it looks like it was down to. So once again, I think that the biggest thing you could say in this episode is missed opportunities. And I'll get to how they could have resolved it later on, which you probably want to listen to be completely honest, because I think you'd be like, yeah, that would have worked much better. But I just feel like there was a lot of missed opportunities in this episode for an episode that was hyped up by a lot of people. Not me personally. A lot of you guys know I wasn't looking forward to this episode necessarily in regards to other episodes this season. But yeah, missed opportunities. That should have been the episode title, not Run Iris Run. And another thing, I know you might think I'm just slagging on this episode, but I'm going to explain why that's the case and how they could have easily fixed that in a pretty simple thing, which a lot of people would have wanted to see as well. But like, why did they send Iris out on her own in that first mission? Like, why didn't Killer Frost and Breach go out? Did they mention why they didn't go out? Because Iris said, yeah, Killer Frost are going out, Cisco can breach, and you can come as well. But then it's just Iris that goes out on her own. Like, that's insane. Into a fire, like a burning building. If she's been, if she's had all these fears and stuff, wouldn't the other people know, especially Barry and stuff? So why is she going out on her own? It just felt weird. Like, even when Wally went out, he was with Barry. You know, like, why was she out on her own? Like, why didn't at least Killer Frost or Cisco go there to maybe help if they needed to breach out or something? Why wasn't that the case? It just felt really weird that they would send her out on her own. So, I don't know, did anyone else notice that or find it a bit weird? But speaking of Iris and her training and also that burning building I was talking about, this was a lot of throwbacks to season 1, like the first, handful of episodes, maybe 4 or 5 episodes. Actually, you could argue the whole of season 1, because something happens at the end of the episode, which is a throwback to episode 12 or something, or maybe 15 of season 1. Anyway, so we see Iris training on the treadmill and going back into the box filled with stuffing or packaging material. That's what happens in season 1 with Barry when he's testing his speed and he goes too fast. The burning building, I think it was episode 2 or 3 of season 1, and Barry saves people from a burning building, might I say. So a lot of references and throwbacks from season 1 of The Flash to this episode with Iris, her first day as a speedster. So I think obviously that's what they were going for, but if people noticed any other ones, let me know in the comments. But we do find out in this episode that actually Iris quit her job. This is the first time I think they've mentioned that Iris actually quit her job, and she quit her job after the end of season 3. But we hadn't seen her at Central City Picture News or CCPN for half a season. I think we didn't see her there for the whole back half of season 3. I think she went out with Wally to do reporting once, but we didn't actually see her at the CCPN, I don't think. So the fact that she quit after season 3 is a bit strange. I thought she might have quit earlier or just walked away and not given a resignation notice. But yeah, we finally learned this episode that she quit. And yeah, but that changes at the end of the episode, I guess, but we'll jump into that later. Now, the end fight scene was another example of a thing from season 1. So she starts the tidal wave. The Barry starts an episode, I think it's 15, or was it 14? 15 or 14 of season 1, I think it is, before he runs back in time accidentally. So he starts that tidal wave to stop... No, he didn't start the tidal wave, sorry. That was a reverse reference, might I say, from season 1, where Weather Wizard starts the tidal wave and Barry has to try and stop it, and he can't do it and he runs back in time. Sorry, it's sort of the reverse. So Barry didn't start the tidal wave in that episode. Weather Wizard did, but in this episode, Iris starts it. So that's a reverse reference, if you want to call it that. And also you do get a moment with she has to take down a tornado. That's what Barry had to do at the end of episode 1, except in that episode he ran around it. In this episode it was a fire tornado, so it's pretty hard to take down. So he had to get the tidal wave for the water to go on to the fire tornado. The one weird thing with that fire tornado thing was the guy that started it, Jacob Birch, why didn't his clothes burn? He was covered in fire. They're not fireproof clothes because we saw him earlier on. Why weren't those clothes burning? Anyway, let's just look over that inconsistency. Now, I saw a lot of people bringing this up on Twitter, which I thought I'd bring up because I do like to, if I do see things on Twitter, I do like to include them in my reviews if I see them in time. I saw a lot of people going why is Iris giving the speed back to Barry such a big point? It wasn't hers to begin with. It's almost like finding a phone on the ground. You know, it's not your phone, but you might be able to return it. You're not going to keep the phone if like you're able to return it. Actually, that's a bad analogy. But just like something that isn't yours and you come in the possession of it, it still belongs to someone else. So it's rightfully theirs if you give it back to them. So it was like in agreement with that. I was like, yeah, why is it such a big point? I didn't really notice it, to be completely honest, because it went over fairly quickly. But I can understand why people were bringing it up and sort of like scratching their head saying like, why is this such a big point? Like, it wasn't hers to begin with. So I thought that I'd include that in this video. But to finish off the episode, going into Barry and Iris's apartment, we do see Iris bring up the blog from season 1, where she was, obviously that's where like the start of her reporting storyline from season 1, which continued on into season 2. And that was good to see. And she starts a new blog post. So please, we've been crying for this. Iris back to the reporting storyline. Hopefully this happens. Hopefully she gets her job back at CCPN. Hopefully they're making right moves with Iris in regards to this. Because this episode is going to cause more frustration with people that don't like Iris. Personally, for me, I want to like Iris. But there's just things that they do in the show which just make it sort of hard. And it's almost like they're appeasing certain people. Or they're like preaching to certain people. You know what I mean. I don't know. This could be the revival of Iris. But we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But this is a good move if this is the direction they're going to go. But then we also see Harry with the thinking cap at the end of the episode, with him naming the last 2 bus metas, which in the comics are Null and Folded Man. So we're seeing Null in episode 17, the next episode, and then we're seeing Folded Man, Edward Gauss, in the episode after that. So 17 and 18, we're dealing with the last 2 bus metas. So we're going to be knocking the last 2 out, I guess. But overall, this episode, I mentioned this on Twitter and a lot of people seem to agree with me. The thing that this should have been is, a lot of people know, in season 1, 2, and 3 of The Flash, we had 2-parter episodes. So season 1, we had the Firestorm arc. Season 2, we had the Earth 2 stuff. And season 3, we had the Gorilla City stuff. Now, why for this season didn't they make this the 2-story arc? I know a lot of people weren't looking forward to it, apart from like maybe West Allen shippers. They were probably, if you're going to like put on a poll, like in regard, or maybe like a pie chart or something, like the percentage of people that were looking forward to it, and it was this many people, a lot of them would have been West Allen shippers and stuff like that, which is understandable. It's a character that they obviously really, really like on the show. It might be the main reason they watch the show. However, this episode was a mess. It had 3 storylines going on at the one time. It had the Harry with the thinking cap storyline, which was about a third of the episode. We had Ralph and he's like obsessive thing with like, oh, I'm going to get caught by DeVoe, I need to save myself, stuff all these other bus metas. That was maybe you couldn't count it as a full storyline, but it was at least half a storyline. So we had like a 2.5 to 3 storylines going on in this episode. And obviously the last one, which was the main point of the episode, was Iris being a speedster. This episode was so rushed, and honestly, I don't want to be so critical against the episode, because I know a lot of people were looking forward to it and looking up to it and wanted it to be a really good episode, but it failed. It really did. It was so rushed, and it just felt like nothing happened. They just really didn't take their time with the premise, and I'm actually really just, if I was, like, I don't know if people are just going to blindside themselves and just saying, okay, I just wanted to see Iris as a speedster, that's all I wanted to see, which is fair enough. You probably got what you wanted to get. But if you're looking forward to a good episode with Iris as a speedster, then you're probably disappointed, because the episode failed on that behalf, and this should have been the 2-parter. And they could have included those 3 storylines and spread them out over 2 episodes, and it would have been so much better. And I think it would have been actually a good story, or good episodes, even though I wasn't necessarily looking forward to the premise. I'm disappointed for the people that were looking forward to it and actually were looking forward to like a good story. But if you were just looking forward to seeing Iris as a speedster, you're probably not disappointed, because you got what you wanted. I guess you could argue maybe you wanted more, because Iris was probably only a speedster for maybe, if you take out ads, maybe like half an hour of the episode. So for an episode that they were hyping up a lot, you didn't really get too much of it. But yeah, I don't know really what else to say. It should have been 2 episodes, and it should have been the 2-parter for this season. It would have been like probably the weakest of the 2-parters if you consider like the scale of the other ones from seasons 1 to 3. But at least we would have got one this season, because we haven't got one this season, because they've been dealing with the bus metas, and there's just too much to deal with in regards to that. So yeah, I don't. People might be saying I'm being biased, I'm hating towards it. I'm not. I went into this episode trying to like it, and I think I would have liked it if it was 2 parts. But unfortunately, it was 1 part. It felt really rushed, And just for me, it failed. I don't know if I'm the only one that thinks that, but I'm sorry. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and my thoughts. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on the video to show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below. So do you agree with me or do you completely disagree with me? Do you think this episode worked? Do you think it made sense? Do you think it all worked in one episode? Just let me know, 'cause I'm interested to see if I'm just on my own and think this. Just let me know what you think. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.